Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted.
And today we asked the question, is this D&D player being a metagaming munchkin?
Jump down in the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with us.
We're going to be doing a GM 911, so as always, that means down in the description below, you can find the original post, as well as if you guys have a GM 911, a problem in your game you want us to solve, send that to nerdarchy@gmail.com, GM 911 in the subject line.
All right, so we have a GM 901 from Mac, and the short and the sweet of it is his players are in hell, they're caught, and the wizard in the party with an 18 intelligence is out of game researching the political leaders on that level of hell. And he's told the DM that. And the DM's like, is this metagaming? Is this okay? How do I punish him? Do I need to punish him? What do I do? Help me, Nerdarchy.
Right. So, first there's a couple things here. One is, he's researching something in the game outside of the game. Is that acceptable? And the characters, or the players, using the excuse, well, my character has an 18 intelligence. He's smart. He knows things. Maybe he drinks. Could be acceptable. So first thing I would do as a GM is I would look at what level the character is, for one, because that's going to determine their level of experience with the world around them and how much more likely they are to have researched something like this. The other thing is, did the characters know they were going to hell? It didn't sound like it from what was said, but if they did know, it is feasible that a wizard would have researched that. The other thing to look at is what skills is the character proficient with? Is he proficient in Arcana? Is he proficient in history? These would be other things to say, well, it's possible. Is he proficient in religion? What kind of spells are on a spell list? Does he have anything dealing with demons, devils, or other planes? And so you kind of would look at all this stuff. And then maybe you might be like, if you're still not sure, you could give them a straight up intelligence check or a check based off of their skills.
So I look at this, and number one, I applaud the fledgling GM for wanting to run a campaign in the Hells. It's not exactly easy. Our campaign at the high levels, that's where things are going to go. But I'm still like, all right, how am I going to roll through all of this for, a handful of sessions? So kudos to that. The other side of it is I wouldn't instantly say this is metagaming. Number one, the information that the player is finding out in no way, shape, or form is a guarantee what you're going to use in your game. It's typically polite if you as a player are trying to find out information about the game that you're playing in, to just talk to the GM and say, hey, can I do this before I start my research? It's nice because it gives you the option, or gives the GM the option of saying, no, I want this to all to be a surprise. Your character wouldn't have this information. And anything he then unravels, even if it is publicized, it becomes the unveiling, the mystery, when the players actually get to encounter it. The initiative on the other side, that if you as the player are doing this and you've got permission, then that means you can go whole hog. Now, I'm keep doing sides, and there's only two sides of things, but if you as a GM see this kind of stuff going on, it's your game, it's your campaign. The information he could get could be wrong. The information he could get could be out of date and thus wrong. So you have the ability to put whatever changes into it that you want to do, so that it's your world, so it's your campaign. And who cares what the books say? Who cares what the history is? This is your world. This is your game. Do as you like.
Yeah, absolutely. You own the hell. Now, that being said, too, mental stats are so hard in a game like D&D, because a lot of times, it's expected that you role play them, right? But it's not really possible, and it's not fair, because the fighter and the rogue don't have to role play their physical skills. They get to just roll a die or have a skill, or they have features that assist in this. But an 18 intelligence, that's a genius level intelligence. You're super smart. So there's some other factors too, like they're in hell, something about being slaves. came up. There's all these different factors. Well, did they have an opportunity to interact with guards, other slaves, other NPCs, anyone in general? Because I would say that a character that's this smart might have the ability to garner more information than people were looking to release. So that might be a factor as well. I kind of feel like there should be some middle ground here where you can like reward them for that really high stat, as well as you as the GM going, well, there's some things you just aren't going to know, or like Ted said, is going to be misinformation or wrong. Maybe they can start figuring out the misinformation kind of early by interacting, and like you go, oh, well, this is everything you think you know. And then as the campaign goes on, you can give them some clues that would let them know that, well, something is amiss. It's not really lining up with the facts that I have. And because they have that high intelligence, like you kind of like inform them that you don't think all your information is correct now. So you're not entirely sure what to trust and what not to trust. And then they can start like rerunning the facts through their computer and figuring it out as they go. And as the DM, you can like give them clues and kind of, you still want to reward them for it, especially if they took the skills as well.
Yeah, I mean, you could even go so far as opposed to, just rather than just saying, oh, you're wrong about this, this is what you've deduced, so that you're really doubling on that intelligence angle of it, and that will make the player feel like, oh, well, I didn't have to make a roll, I just garnered this information. So like, pieces of the puzzle get to then fit together.
Yeah, and I like that, and I like the idea of, maybe they have a bunch of information and some of it's right and some of it's wrong, and this is the thing you get to explore during the game, and the player gets to kind of like figure out, and they get to be kind of rewarded, and maybe they're getting the information before the other players who haven't invested as heavily in that stat or that skill set. And then again too, like always look back at, well, what has this character been doing throughout the game? Like, have they been contacting other planes? Do they have like a quasit or imp familiar that would, like, if someone had like an imp familiar, which is a devil, then that would greatly change how I would view what information they have.
Right.
Especially, or if there's a warlock in the group that is Pact of the Fiend, like that guy might know some other stuff. So there's definitely mitigating factors as well. What kind of wizard is he? Right? Is he a conjurer? Does he conjure things? I would think a conjurer is more likely to investigate the places where he's going to be conjuring things from.
Then the illusionist.
Yeah, the invoker or the illusionist.
Yeah, the conjurer, the diviner, they're gonna have the more leg up on this kind of information, as opposed to your illusionist or your evoker.
I would flavor it other ways too. Is this wizard a tiefling, right? You've kind of have a fiendish heritage and you're a wizard with an 18 intelligence. I might give that character more credence and more information than a different one. Or an Azamar, right? Because it's a diametrically opposed force in theory. So like these are all things that you can kind of take into consideration when you're trying to figure out, well, what would they know? What might they know? Can you reward players for this choice or that choice?
Metagaming, is bad. I've seen players at the table literally looking at the monster stat block of what they're actually facing. It's one of the reasons I like actually using monsters of my own creation, because then they won't know what they're actually doing.
Opening the book to the monster is kind of bad etiquette anyway. Some players just don't know. Like they're like, oh, I have all these books. Why can't I use them? And some people have to be told. In our games, Scott would be like, hey, you made the check. Oh, you can just open up to the monster manual entry. You know everything there is to know.
And I've followed suit with that as well, at times.
Now, I will say with this particular player, like he told the DM, it doesn't sound like he was hiding it from the DM. So that may not be that bad, it may not be intentional. So at least you have like some ground to work on. The worst ones are when we get, hey, I think my player is cheating and metagaming, but then you have to call it. So like there's no conflict there. Like what he's doing. He's told you, he's like, this is why I think it's okay to do it. And now you guys can at least have a conversation.
You have a conversation. There's no punishment that needs to be done. The guy's looking up, information about the world that he's playing in, and it's up to you to determine, what information the character has versus what information the player has.
And like Ted said, maybe you're going to change anything anyway, so it doesn't even matter. Maybe in your hells you flip, the 9th level and the 5th level, because that's what you decided to do. Asmodeus decided he should be in the middle of everything instead of having to work your way down to him. It's your game. Do it however you want.
So let us know what you think. Put any comments for Mac down in the comments below. While you're down there, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
You can go hang out with us over on Facebook.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.